All right, glad to see everyone here. Glad to see folks out and about. It is good to be out. I think this is the second in-person speech that I've given since COVID hit, and so glad to be here. This is the fifth time I've been in Southern California the last 2 months. So I've been living on airplanes, coming out here and travel around the country. It's been quite a busy time for our show. We launched our Black Star Network, digital network, September 3rd, and so we've been busy with that, shooting interviews all around the country, and so spent time this week in Brunswick, Georgia, Wednesday and Thursday for the black pastors who gathered at the trial of the 3 white men who were on trial for killing Ahmaud Arbery. And so there Wednesday and Thursday, and there was in New York City yesterday doing some interviews, and flew here last night. So I was always glad to be among folks who understand what our commitment is and what we're trying to do. And so glad to see all of you here, folks who watch the show, who support the show. Thank you so very much. And again, glad to be here because events like this are critically important. And I want to get right into it. But before I do this, I got to go ahead and say this here. Y'all shouted out all the folks with the D9. I know there were some other brothers here who are members of Sigma Pi Phi. Who are Archons, so shout out to, raise your hand if you are. Got one here, gotta shout them out. And then of course, I don't know how a Kappa sat next to me. What you say, pole mark or something like that, what y'all call it? Man, just call it damn president. Just got come on all the names. Just, and he was talking the trash, and I had to remind him, I said, without Alpha, y'all just Kappa side. And I don't know why. Normally it's an Omega who says something stupid to the speaker before they speak. So always the first rule, leave the speaker alone until after. Never see that. You know he wasn't Alpha because that was not a smart move. Talk trash to me before I speak. But it's all good. It's all good. So, I appreciate Kappa. Somebody got to work with Alphas. So I appreciate that. But it's all good. It's all right. I mess with all of them. Some folk take it personal. I tell them, get over it. Alpha's still your daddy. That goes for the AKs and the Deltas too. Don't even worry about it. That's right. Y'all know. Y'all got to start with us. That's right. Y'all came to be trying to put yourself in the front. Don't even try it. All these Deltas going to me talking about, y'all, look at you. You married a Delta. No, I was an Alpha before she was a Delta. Let's get that clear. That's right. She grad chapter. I played undergrad. No. That's fine. I'm just saying that came after we were married. Some folk trip like that. I know. Plus at the national convention now. So I remind her too. I said, remember, Alpha's your daddy too now. Don't even forget that. So it's all good. It's all good. We always, trust me, she always like, here you go, start there. And I was like, well, it's factual. So I got to mess with her too. So, and I didn't even wait when I had my 30th Alpha anniversary a couple of years ago. I said, don't worry, I'm just buy my own gift. So anytime, especially when I see Omegas and Sigmas who talk trash, I just tell them, just kiss the ring. And you Kappas, y'all can see that in the back, huh? Yeah. See, that's what happened. See, I tried to warn him. I was like, don't start. I said, just eat your food and leave your brother alone. Leave your brother alone. I appreciate it. And probably somebody gonna get fired in my staff because I don't know how they got me speaking at a golf course. They know I play golf all the time. I was sitting there like, damn, when is it gonna have this BBN over so I can get the club? Y'all don't understand. I've been playing golf since I was in college. So I see a golf course, I will cancel many a meeting. Y'all think I'm lying. I was on the food bank board. They said, we moved the meeting from 2 to 4. And I already planned to play after the meeting. So y'all can send me the minutes. I did not make that meeting. I was on a golf course, trust me. You can just give me 30 minutes heads up. That's all I need. You ain't got to call me 2 weeks in advance. That's how we play. We get it in. So, and so we always are doing that. So listen, I appreciate the golf ball. See, I like that. See, my man said, I had a gift for you. Some Tyler's Pro V1s. I'm like, thank you. I said, plus, I see a smart man. He ain't bring no pinnacles or something like that in hard golf balls. See, those are good golf
I
balls.
called your people.
There you go. See, smart. See, you called the head. See, your daddy must have been an alpha. See, I know. Smart man, smart man, smart man, smart man. All right, folks, let's get right to it. I was, as you were talking beforehand, as folks were coming in, and obviously this is about grassroots politics, and I was contemplating how to title it. Because anytime you talk to this many black people, you figure most of them go to church. Maybe. Some of y'all looking like, uh-oh. COVID has bailed a whole bunch of y'all out, but y'all now can go to church online. Y'all like, woo! Bedside Baptist is no longer a bad phrase. Look at y'all in the back like we ain't going back ever, see? That's fine, y'all can go to church online, just send your tithe. Just send your tithe. That's right, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, send your tithe. Use all of them. So anytime you meet with this many black folks, you gotta go ahead and tag your text. Now the person next to you they have no idea what tag your text means. That means they do not go to church. Yeah, some of y'all like, what? You know what that was? Tag your text? See, where you from?
Here, California.
There you go, right there. That's the problem, right there. See? Anybody black in the South, tag your text. What does that mean? Y'all don't know. Nobody from. Okay, I'm just gonna head. Y'all gonna be on the show come Monday. So typically, when the preacher says, "Now let me tag my text," let me give the title of the sermon. See y'all in the back. Oh, see, look at y'all. Oh, that's what that means. Oh, okay. See, now when y'all go home to Mississippi, Alabama, y'all like, nah, I know what the preacher talking about. They always said we tag my texts, so let me do this here and title this "Praying Ain't Enough." I see some of y'all might get real scared right now. I don't know how many politicians you talk to, but people love to say, "I'm praying for you." I have covered politics my whole life, and I've heard that phrase, and I keep saying, if politicians will tell you, I appreciate all the prayers, but that will not fund a campaign.
Right.
You ask any politician, they'll tell you. They'll tell you, people say, "Oh, I'm praying for you. We got your back. I lit a candle for you." And they sit there like, "Man, okay, I appreciate that, but that ain't gonna do it." Now, it doesn't mean that we don't believe in the power of prayer. But the reality is, when you are running for office, when you're trying to change something, when you're trying to build something, you literally have to put infrastructure together. You've got to put a team together. You've got to have a plan of action. And there are a lot of people who are great and wonderful people, and they are committed public service, but they have no idea how to win. And when we talk about winning, it requires resources, it requires teams, it requires folks who are now doing social media, who are doing video. It still requires signs and billboards and all of those things that go in line with it. And see, someone in the back like, "Ooh, thank you." Sound like somebody been through a lot of begging, like, y'all have got to give. And see, we are also stuck in this mindset that, oh, well, I can't afford to give. Well, if all these black celebrities would just give, without realizing that in many places you have spending limits. Yes. That's one. Two, reality is collective resources still matters. When Bernie Sanders ran for president, average gift was $27. If you look at when President Barack Obama ran for office, there were people who would give, some people were tithing literally $10, $20 a month. Well, over the course of a year, $20 a month is $240 a year. That money simply was adding up. And so you do that times 200 people, then you actually see real numbers. And then people say, well, we want to see change, we want things to happen, but what I always say is you're not going to see anything happen unless you literally elect the very people who can make those things happen. And so we have become so accustomed in this country to also only focusing on what happens in Washington, D.C. Or if you're in this state, what happens in your state capital, Sacramento, without realizing that nearly every person, not nearly every person is greater impacted by what happens locally. I'm talking about you really begin to break down politics. I'm talking about in its most basic and simple form. It's what happens just outside of your door. Okay, so you live in a neighborhood. You're tired of people who are speeding up and down the roads. Then you say, we need to have some speed bumps. Ask the most basic question. How do speed bumps get installed? Who has that authority? Who delegates that? Is it the city? Is it the county? Exactly who does it? That's local politics. When you begin to talk about how do you transform a neighborhood, we're talking about street lights or new sidewalks or sewer systems, and you have flooding issues, that is likely going to be a city issue. If you live outside of the city, who handles law enforcement? Typically, it is the sheriff. Those are local issues. And there are people who are walking around today who are utterly clueless about politics. And I mean people, not folks who don't have college degrees. I mean people who have college degrees and graduate degrees. People just don't know how to connect the actual dots. Because what we've done in this country, we've completely obliterated civics in this country. Yes. What is that? I mean, I can't tell you how many people I run into where they think they live somewhere and they go, well, Congressional Black Caucus is not helping me. I'm like, because they don't even represent you because you have no idea who your member of Congress is. If you would go around, seriously, just start with your family and say, okay, who is your member of Congress? They might say something. Then you go to your laptop, you can go to the website and type it in, put their zip code in. More than likely they're wrong. I'm telling you, I see this every single day. I travel all around the country. I live around the country, and the same thing happens. And so when we're talking about how do we change, you can't change something if you have no idea even how it works. And so if we're going to be serious about redefining our politics, then we have to learn what does that actually mean. So take, for instance, school boards. People right now, white folks across America losing a damn mind over a totally BS, made-up, Fox News-driven thing on critical race theory, which is only designed to drive up the anger among white voters. You want facts? The election in Virginia was over the first Tuesday in November. There was a complete drop-off over the mentioning of critical race theory on Fox News and all the conservative networks, conservative talk radio. Oh, so November 2nd, it was the biggest issue in the country. November 4th, no big deal. And I said a year ago, after Trump lost, I said, look, they're going to need white people to be angry in order to vote in the next election. Because what we have to understand is people vote based upon emotion. One of Democrats' biggest weaknesses is they try to appeal to the logic and the common sense. No, seriously. When people are pissed, when they're angry, they're motivated. When a person isn't pissed or angry, they're like, okay, I might vote, I might not. That's what happens. And so you saw that happen and then when they threw it out there and the folks jumped on it, there were people I live in Loudoun County in Virginia. There were people who were coming to the school district. I'm talking about 200 people signing up, railing against critical race theory. The superintendent's going, we don't teach it. We don't teach it. We don't teach it. Not in our schools. But if you also need to understand what the game was, because the game was not critical race theory. I mean, they literally even talked about it. Christopher Rufo, you saw him when he was on Joy and Reed shows and other shows. He even tweeted this. The issue was not critical race theory, which first, look, I have run 3 black newspapers, news editor of a black website, Tom Joyner's BlackAmericanWeb.com, Tom Joyner, TV One, major broadcasting cable network, written for Savoy magazine. This is my now 14th black media experience. In my entire career, I didn't write a damn thing about critical race theory. Now, you ain't gonna find nobody blacker than me who's worked in black-owned media my entire career and had never come across critical race theory until these folks started losing their damn mind last year.
And don't know.
Because it was only being taught on a very high level in law schools. But that was not the issue. The issue was not critical race theory. The issue is if we could lump anything dealing with race under the critical race theory banner, that would then tick them off. That was the real issue. So when you had DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, all coming about after the death of George Floyd, that's what the whole issue was. The issue was the changing demographics of America and what's happening. That was the issue. And so the anger that has been fueling these folks is because the blowback of they do not want to see America being redefined. Why? Because we now actually have a voice. That's what I said today on Tiffany Cross Show in MSNBC. See, oftentimes we are responding to the wrong thing. We're not responding to what someone actually is saying. We are inferring what they said and then reinterpreting it. No, I'm listening to exactly what they say. And so when you hear the phrases, we're losing our way of life, you have to stop and go, what exactly do you mean by your way of life? All of the drama with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. You see, people are not listening properly. This is not what it means to be American. Actually, it is. Because you can't condemn somebody for kneeling because he was protesting when it's literally the First Amendment. What more American than the First Amendment? Now you got all these crazies out here who love the Second Amendment. But you can't get to the second until you walk past the first. So y'all want to leapfrog the first, get to the second. But see, when you hear our values are changing, you have to listen to what politicians are saying, what people are saying when they say our values are changing. No, what they're actually saying is how America has been defined since its existence has been defined through the prism of largely white men. And so now we are not happy that the rest of y'all get a say. I'm telling you, if you listen to the language, you hear it, you hear the language. California just decided, the school, to say, we're getting rid of the testing. Already, folks, this is their way to get around the ending of affirmative action. No, it's because it doesn't work. And also, the very testing was used specifically to exclude us from the major institutions. A couple years ago, they uncovered where the president of the University of Texas gave a speech to alumni in Houston, and they were all up in arms after Brown was Board of Education. He said, chill, we got this. We're going to put in standardized testing. And they're not going to be able to pass. He said, so y'all relax. And that's exactly what happened. And so what you have to understand that we're now seeing is, you're seeing the game, the political game that's being played. And what's happening is folk are getting so caught up in somebody else's game that they begin to drive on their own. So people asking me, they're like, well, you should have that guy Rufo on your show. I'm like, no. They're like, why? I said, because that's exactly what he wants. See, this is what they do. And Stephen Bannon actually said it. Over here, they talk about stuff. Then they like, okay, we're going to make this a thing. So then we're going to talk about it and build it up. And then we're going to attack over here. Why aren't y'all discussing this thing? And most liberals, especially white liberals, and I'm going to break that down, go, oh my God, they're calling us anti-conservative. So what do? They then start talking about the thing that they said they were not talking about. So they then go, gotcha. We now have you talking about the thing that we created that was never a thing, and now it's now part of the mainstream. I literally saw it. I was like, I don't know why y'all keep, I'm like, y'all falling for the okie dokie, y'all go. And so the New York, all these people, no. We need to explain to them exactly what it is. I'm like, no, actually you don't, because they don't give a damn what it actually is. They want you talking about the very thing, because now they are determining what your content is. So if they can now drive your storyboarding, your narrative, they win. Rufo had no problem when he went on Joanne Reed's show because he won. He's like, I got you talking about my issue that was never an issue. That's the political game that's being played. And so what happened was they went, damn, all of these white people are really upset. Then they say, well, wait a minute, we can now use the school boards as a route to now change the curriculum in a way we couldn't change it before. Now look, this has been happening in the last 10 years. You had Tennessee, the State Board of Education, where they were trying to remove any reference of slavery, Jim Crow out of the textbooks. They tried it in Texas as well. Why does that matter? And why does this state matter? Again, connect the dots. There are only 3 important states for education. 3. Texas, New York State, and California. Why? Because Texas, New York State, and California buy more textbooks than all the other states combined. So when Texas, New York State, and California, if they can change the textbooks in one of those states, they literally are changing the textbooks in multiple states. That affects curriculum. And so their game plan right now is, how do you take control of the curriculum by going through your school boards? But see, is much deeper than even the curriculum. Because the reason this gathering is important, the reason why pooling resources together is important, because you now have to also understand what controls the economics of communities. So, your school district, how large is the budget?
$800 million. $500 million.
$500 million. The city council, how large is the budget?
285.
No, the budget. How large is the city budget?
285.
285? 285 million?
Yep.
500 million for a school district? How about the county? What, billion? Okay, let's say billion. That's 1.7 billion.
Those $4 billion for family.
4 billion. Got it. 4 billion, 500 million, 200 some odd million. Got it. It's 4.7 billion. Now ask the question, school board, how many bond initiatives have you had? School construction. Who has what contracts? Who controls the textbook contract, the software contracts, janitorial contracts, the software contracts? No, not the teachers. No, I'm talking about contracts. I'm talking about the contracts, which is the money. So when you control the school district, when you control the board, you control the money. You now control who gets the money. You now control how the policies are written in terms of who you favor. Now you have people who go, oh, okay, fine, we don't want to use affirmative action. Okay, fine, we're going to change the rules. We're going to say we're going to give preference to businesses that reside within this zone. Well, if most of our businesses reside in this zone, then we then get a leg up on contracts. When you control the board, you can change the policy. If you look at most school districts around the country, the number of people who vote in school districts are lower than any other election, any other campaign. They're lower than city, because the attention that we pay more attention to presidential because it's national. It's all the media. Then you're talking about presidential, U.S. Senate races, congressional races. Then you go gubernatorial races. Then you go state races. And then once you get past that, the bottom just drops out. So you won, right? Who won on the school board? You did? What was the vote number?
Oh, you had about 15,000 that particular year.
Yeah,
A
15,000.
little over 15,000.
Okay, so how many people on the school board?
5.
5. Means 3 is the majority.
Yes.
That means take over the school board, let's just say 45,000 votes. Okay, you ran for school board, total campaign budget, how much you raise?
Campaign manager.
17,000.
17,000, okay, fine. So that means that if you say, okay, if we want to take over the entire school board, we need to raise $75,000.
Yes.
Okay.
I want you to think. 5 positions. 5 positions. If you say, fine, we're going to sit here and raise $25,000 per position, or you say we're going to run a slate. We're going to run 5 people. We're going to go out and raise $125,000, and we're going to fund each candidate with $25,000 each.
Right.
And then the goal is to win 3 out of 5.
Yes.
I win 3 out of 5. I got majority of the school board. This is just basic vote counting.
Yes.
Simple.
And so when we're talking about power, look how much money people will then work together to bundle to raise for a congressional presidential campaign. That's great, that's wonderful. But the reality is, the amount of money, I guarantee you, if you run the numbers, you probably in this city, you probably raised more money for a presidential campaign. For one presidential campaign that was not even a blip of the billion they raised, when literally you could have taken those exact same resources and taken over the entire school board. That's why this matters. Now take the exact same formula and now go to the city.
Yes.
You then go, okay, how many people on the school city council? Are they single member districts? Are they citywide? And then it's a question of, okay, fine, single member districts, okay, who lives in what district? How do we target that particular person? Most people, and then what you also do is, you'll be smart enough to go to people and say, look, you can't have 5, 6 damn people running because you're going to guarantee the incumbent is going to be able to win. You got to be able to consolidate power to have leverage when it comes to the resources. And so you might be sitting in here and you might be sitting here and say, oh man, Al said, she said this even raised $20,000. Okay, but just think about that. That literally can fund one candidate alone for a school board.
Right.
Now you begin to say, okay, hold up. So now let's rethink how we're doing this. But again, match how much you're raising to also what you now control by being able to change policy. You have to then go in and break down the numbers. See, one of the greatest mistakes that many African Americans make is we approach politics from the perspective of we want to focus. And I'll throw it out there. What would you say are the top 3 issues in the city? Throw it out.
Pollution.
Roads.
Pollution, water, roads, homelessness. No.
Right.
It's economics. No. Did you follow what I'm saying?
Talk to him.
No. It's economics. Every single thing you just said is determined by who controls access to the dollars.
Right.
So what happens is we, too often, many African Americans across the country, we approach politics as the most important thing facing our community is education, is money, it's mass incarceration, money. Oh, is it? No, money. It literally resources. Because everything that you just named has to be funded. And everything that you just named is going to be then dealt with likely by a private company who is then going to get the contract to deal with that very thing. Which now means that you have to now be asking, okay, what is the business capacity of black folks here? Which means that your survey now has to be, okay, so who in here actually owns a business? Raise your hand. Who in here has a business? No, keep your hands up. I need to see when their hands drop. Who in here has a business that employs more than 5 people? Keep your hands up. Who in here employs a business with more than 10 people? Who in here has more than 20? Who in here has more than 25? There are 2 hands up.
They work for the same company.
Y'all work for the same company. No, but I need you to understand, pre-COVID, nationally, there were 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America. 2.5 million had 1 employee. They were doing an average revenue of $54,000 each. 7 years ago, we had 1.9 million black-owned businesses. We had 1.8 million with 1 employee, doing an average revenue of $110,000. That means that we added 700,000 more black-owned businesses, but the revenue got cut in half. So when people say we need more black-owned businesses, no, we need more black-owned business with capacity. Now, why does that matter? Well, if I'm talking about how do we access power and access economic power, and you look at the contracting that goes on, if you're able to now tap into school board, city, county contracts, you're now able to grow and build businesses. You're able to grow and build businesses, you can employ more people. That impacts unemployment, that impacts wages, that impacts wealth. But more importantly, you now, by growing your business, now have the ability to actually fund more candidates.
Right. Yes.
It is literally controlling your own destiny.
Right.
This is how the game has been played. And so what we've done is, we have not done what Maynard Jackson did, who really understood this when he transformed the city of Atlanta. People talk about Atlanta being the Mecca. Remember, 1973, African Americans received 0.0012% of all contracts in the city of Atlanta. I didn't say 1%.
No.
I didn't say 0.5%. I didn't say 0.25%. 0.0012% of all contracts. He said his grandfather taught him there were 3 B's: the ballot, the book, and the buck. He used the ballot and the buck to drive the very issue. So when you look at Atlanta today, you cannot talk about Atlanta today unless you look at what Maynard Jackson put in place, and then behind him, Andrew Young, and then Maynard came back. Then, of course, you had Bill Campbell, Shirley Franklin, Kasim Reed, Keisha Lance Bottoms, and now they have the election going on right now. It is understanding how they use the power. He understood that the greatest economic engine, not only for Atlanta, but the state of Georgia, was the airport. When they rebuilt the airport, he said, let me tell you something. He said, unless y'all get more black people contract, there will be tumbleweeds. They'll be going down the runway before I allow this thing to be rebuilt.
Wow.
That's how it changed. And that's why when he left the mayor's office, not a single major law firm in Atlanta would hire him, because all of those white power brokers were pissed that he dared disrupt the economic engine in the city. And so if you're going to be talking about, how do you transform politics, Inland Empire, in this area, you have to lock in on the money. Because how are you getting beat? The money. The candidates with a war chest.
Yep.
If you ignore the money, you will always lose.
Yes.
Which now then means, okay, who are the people who are funding your opponents? See, what I'm trying to get you to see is this thing is not just about how can you come together to have an event to raise money to fund candidates. You literally have to be thinking about redefining the political and economic power structure because that will then determine how you're able to advance. And so when you begin to study other folks, and so the question for me, it would be, okay, who gets the largest contracts in the city? Who gets the largest contracts on the school board? Who then are they funding? How many of us are supporting those very businesses? And then what are they funding in return to our community? So if you're pulling resources out of our community and then you're not giving it back, there's no return on investment, then we got a problem.
Come on, y'all, listen.
And so then when you now take, because I guarantee you it always happens. Somebody sitting here, they're like, oh, okay, man, they said that, all right, they shout out Divine Nine. Well, I ain't a member of Divine Nine. That's fine. Everybody's not a member. But I want you to understand that one of the greatest things that we have in our community is that we have organizational infrastructure that is grossly misused. If you read Dr. King's book, Chaos of Community, Where Do We Go From Here? Which is one of the most phenomenal books, and I dare say one of the 3 most important books that should be on your library. This is what he wrote in 1967. It was published in 68, and it was the worst-selling book out of the books that he wrote. And the book also was not in print for 10 years after his assassination. For me, that was by design. You read this book, you literally will think that he's writing about 2021 and not 1968.
Absolutely.
What he says in the book, there are 4 institutions that are prime position for the liberation of Black America. The Negro Church, the Negro Press, he says fraternities and sororities, and professional and business organizations. So if you look in here, so I'll ask it this way, so whether it's Divine Nine or anything else, if you are a member of a largely Black organization, raise your hand. Okay. Put your hand down. That means that if you're talking about Divine Nine, Links, Ladies of Distinction, if you're talking about any number of groups, what Prince Hall Masons, what your Eastern Star, we can go on and on and on. These are all organizing entities with existing membership that are actually funded by themselves, that are not controlled by any external forces. If you take Divine Nine alone, no one funds us but us. Think about it. Yeah, you might have some corporate sponsors, but I'm talking about the reality is these are self-funded entities. Black fraternities and sororities actually represents the most sophisticated infrastructure in the Black community. Now, what I mean by that is you have to look at the organization, how are they set up? These are international organizations, national leadership, regional leadership, state leadership, grad chapters, undergrad chapters, and programming that goes all the way down to elementary school. We call that being horizontal, and vertical. Which means that if you are the general president of Alpha Phi Alpha, and when you make a decision and you press the button, it goes to every chapter around the world, and whatever that decree is it. If you don't abide by that, you can be removed or your chapter yanked. The NAACP doesn't structure that way. Yes, you're the NAACP headquarters in Baltimore. They have state conferences. They also have local chapters, but in many ways their local chapters are autonomous. Yes, they have to abide by a certain set of rules and procedures, but national cannot mandate nor dictate what they do. So what we have is we have organizational power that is only focused inward. I've said this to all of them. I gave the Brotherhood speech at the Alpha Convention 3 years ago in Baltimore. I said this to the Deltas, to the AKAs. We spend enormous amount of time and resources on bullshit. Yes, I said it. I I got no problem saying it. Because when you're only, follow me here, when you're only talking about what's happening inside of our walls versus what's happening out there, then what's going on? Okay, I'll give you this way. Just so to understand. Again, how you use economic power. How often does school board meet?
Once a month.
Once a month. When?
Wednesday.
School board meets on Wednesday. Okay? Once a month, right?
No, twice a month.
Twice a month.
Districts are twice.
Okay, twice a month. Okay. You got, I'm just going to take Divine Nine. Again, I'm trying to walk you through how you use power. Divine Nine, 9 organizations. Meet twice a month. That's it?
I think that.
Okay, let's just say twice a month. Fine. That means you should have one fraternity, one sorority that says we will be attending school board meeting this month. The commitment is not every month. Because hell, you got 9. It's 9. Which two gonna have, who's gonna have December? So they don't meet in December, fine. Who's going to January? Got it. Who's in February? Who's in March? Who's in April? Who's in May? So now all of a sudden, you get a school board meeting. They look up, who the hell these 20 people in black and gold? Who the hell these 50 women in pink and green? And then next month, they like, who the hell these 50, 60 women in red and white? Hold up. Who these people in blue and white? Hold up. Who these people in purple and gold? And who these people in, wait a minute, hold up. Now they sitting here like, do y'all know who these people are? Now, what does that now do for the black community? The black community now is saying, who the hell are these people in the black and gold? Because if we really want to be honest with ourselves, if we want to be honest, it's a whole bunch of our folk ain't never seen us. Because, now see, I know I'm stepping on toes. Because see, folks like, no, we are this program. No, that's inward. I'm talking about how are we leveraging our infrastructure externally. I'm talking about how do we use it to begin to say, yes, we're going to be funding this. Now see, here's the key. This is where Divine Nine get all screwed up. Folk go, oh yeah, but we can't impact our 501c3 status. No, first of all, the law says you cannot endorse candidates. It does not mean you cannot endorse policies. We are literally sitting on power that is untapped.
Wow.
That is unused. We're literally sitting on it. And it's not being used. And we're only using it inside of our group. And really on what? Look. The head of the Boulay said, hey, Roland, he said, I want you to present at he said, the Grand Boulay. I said, I don't do bullshit, bro. No. I want you to understand. I know. I'm giving you the quote. The reason I'm trying to explain this to you is because that's part of the deal. I'm not interested in going to the Bahamas for the Grand Boulay in order to go to an art event, and go to a cooking deal, and to go on a cruise. No, I'm not. I said, you can't tell me that you have this collection of black men that's supposed to be the be-all to end-all of all black male groups, the upper echelon of black men in America, and we ain't talking about a damn thing that's political, economic, and social.
Right.
I'm not wasting my time. And so what I'm trying to get us to understand is we need to stop patting ourselves on the back organizationally and then begin to say, no, how are we leveraging this power beyond? But see, for me, this is not just with Divine Nine or the Boulay or, look, when the brothers came to me, they said, hey man, we want you to be a part of Prince Hall Mason. I'm like, cool. I said, but you do know what's going to happen when I'm in. I ain't here for meetings. unless that meeting actually means something. Look, I'm a life member of the National Association of Black Journalists, 3-time board member. I get inducted next month to our Hall of Fame. When I got on the board, I told them I'm not here for games. I said, if we're going to use our power as the world's largest minority journalism organization, I said, then we're going to do that. So when we met with corporations, I said, I walked in like we about to meet. And I had to deal with some of our people who kind of like, yo, Roland, I think you're a little radical with it. I said, yo, I'm not here to be cute. When I sit at the table of power, I need them to understand I'm not playing. And so we are approaching this with a hat in hand, mealy mouth, small, as opposed to walking in saying, no, I'm looking for major, significant, substantive change, and my ask is going to be so large, it's going to cause you to fall out your chair. I'm saying you got to be willing to look at your existing political leaders and say, if the mayor or the council members or the school board leader, if they are not up to the task, you must be willing to look somebody in the eye and say, we're going to take you out at the next level. And let me be real clear. Let me be real clear. I ain't got no problem taking out somebody black. Let me say it again. Because I'm telling you, I've seen this game before. Folk like, I don't know, that's a sister. If her ass ain't, if that sister or that brother is not advocating for policies that are specifically benefiting our community for good, they got to go. I see no difference whether they're black, white, Latino, or Asian. See, the mistake that we make is we go, yeah, but that's our kinfolk. No, it's not. This is not about I want to get along with somebody. Right. This is about are our communities, our neighborhoods being transformed? Are our businesses getting the kind of contracts that are needed? Are we seeing growth? This is not about I need an invitation to somebody's Christmas party. Now, if you are not about that life, here's my suggestion. Give your check and leave. No. See, I know some of you, do understand. Some of y'all look at me right now like, damn, you knew who you invited. But the reason many of our communities are in the condition that they are in is because too many of us have been satisfied with status quo. I operate by that scene in the movie Malcolm X when Denzel went to the jail and Brother Johnson had been beaten by the police, and then he said, call the ambulance, and then they called the ambulance, and then the white cop came up to Denzel and he said, okay, he said, you came and got what you want, y'all can go, and he said, no, I'm not satisfied. And there are far too many of us in nice, cute positions with our nice salaries, driving our very nice cars, wearing our nice suits with nice titles, who are satisfied, yet we have not seen the kind of change when necessary. Do understand, I don't get invited to a bunch of the fun stuff with President Obama. Why? Because I was on his behind when he was president. Because see, I wasn't just happy to see a black first family. Too many black folks stayed at the inauguration parade all 8 years. Everybody else left. Everybody else was asking for stuff. I had black people around America saying, no, dog, we can't. No, we really can't ask him for stuff because, if we do that, the white folks going to get mad. He might not win the second term. And I was like, so hold up. You ain't asking for something for somebody white you ain't never met who might do something 3 years from now? I said, you crazy. And people were like, man, but you really can't, we really shouldn't push that hard. I said, no. See, the thing is, we got so wrapped up in him being the first black president, we forgot he was the 44th. I can't ask the previous 43 for stuff and not ask the 44. So I don't care if you a black governor or county leader or mayor or council member or school board leader. I have a full expectation that you are going to deliver because everybody else is demanding return on investment. The point of raising money to get somebody elected is for there to be a return on investment. And so that has to be our mindset, and we can't be afraid to make these demands. And so leaving here, you now really got to make an even more critical decision. And that is how hard you really are trying to change stuff. How hard are you really trying to redefine this community for the good? See, none of us want to think about it, but the reality is we all have an expiration date. And so the question you got to ask is, what are they going to say about me when I'm gone? But I don't mean just when I'm gone physically from this earth. What are they going to say about when I was the pole mark for the Kappas, or I was the general president for the Alphas, or when I led the AKs and the Deltas, or when I led the church coalition, or when I led the Prince Hall Masons? What are they going to say about when I was president, or when I was on the board, when I was an officer? What are they going to say about my tenure there? Are they going to say that they disrupted things and changed things? Or are they going to say stuff stayed the same as it always has been? I have no interest in anybody ever saying when Roland Martin was here, stuff stayed the same. See, I'm not afraid of them being afraid when I walk into the room. See, again, many of us have been raised, and this is the reality of white supremacy in America. Many of us have been raised, we walk into the room, we walk in head down, bowed, and we don't walk in loud and proud. I had somebody told me, they said, you walk into the room like you belong here. I'm like, you damn right I do. When I walk into a room, I want you to feel the presence. I want you to say, damn, he here. I want you to feel that. Because see, we can't keep playing this same. I'm telling you, I travel around the country. I cover news stories around the country. And what I see are too many of us who are so happy and excited just to be. That we look back and then stuff look the same. That simply cannot be the case. I'm not interested in people giving me no proclamations, keys to the city. I don't care about no resolutions. I mean, you can keep all that stuff. I want to know, does the city, the school district, does a county look different than it did before? And look, I'm telling you, I ain't afraid to hit nobody. If my mama and daddy was running something and I felt it was raggedy, mama and daddy would have a problem. I don't. We've got to have more people who don't give a damn about somebody else's opinion of them. In the history of Black America, you cannot show me people that redefine America who were nice and everybody got along with them. Even other black people. 1959, Roy Wilkins, head of the NAACP, called Dr. King a radical. The head of the NAACP said, he a radical. King was like, appreciate that. See, so many of us have fallen for America's redefinition of Dr. King because we have turned him into a civil rights bobblehead. a civil rights mascot. Oh, Dr. King loved everybody and he prayed for everybody. No, that was one of the most radical voices America has ever seen. But we let folk quote him every single day who don't care about what he cared about. I ain't letting no Republican, black or white, give any kind of quote praising Dr. King, because I'm going to ask him, if you don't support his agenda, I don't want to see your quote. If you don't care about the poor, if you don't care about the disenfranchised, if you don't care about the downtrodden or the depressed, if you are unwilling to deal with the economic realities in cities, then I don't want to see your praise. Which also, I tell, look, I've done a lot of MLK events, and I've told many of the politicians, y'all can excuse yourself for sitting here praising the King if you voting against him when you at the meeting. We have to be willing to challenge power. Because Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand, never have and never will. But he also said this before he died. He said, agitate, agitate, agitate. So if you one of those folks and you don't want to agitate, if you one of those folks and you don't want to sit here and press somebody, if you don't want to sit here and challenge power, if you don't want to redefine power, my suggestion is for you to move the hell out of the way, because there's a train that's coming. And when that train comes, you're going to hear a whistle coming. And you can hear that whistle from a long, my dad worked for Amtrak. You can hear that whistle from a long distance. The whistle, they don't sound the whistle when they right on you. They let you know, train's coming. Train's coming. Get your bags ready, because when we pull up, we're not going to be here for long. And so there's some folk here in this city, in this county, in this state, that are unwilling to move out the way. Tell them two things going to happen. Either you move for us to move forward, or you're going to get run the hell over.
I just want to say that I told you that's why I had him come, so I don't even have to talk, because he just pretty much channeled everything. Thank you, Roland Martin. Thank you for being here and for doing what you did.